Well, it's a cool but sunny winter's morning here in Tasmania, and the video I have for you today is to dig some of these potatoes that were grown in clay. I know some have inquired how this crop went, and basically I don't know the real results yet either, and we're going to find out today by digging the first of these. Now, I've had plenty of other potatoes from the previous crop, so I haven't rushed to dig these because they keep the best in this nice cool soil over winter. This row here on my right didn't do nearly as well as these lower rows did. I often judge or expect the crop that I'll actually get from the potatoes based on not how big the tops grow, but how long they grow for. So if the plant has good nutrition and it's developing tubers well, it will keep its leaves for a longer period of time. A plant that dies sooner usually has less smaller tubers and a much smaller crop. This row did die first. These 2 or 3 rows here did a lot better. So I'm going to dig 1 bucket each out of this row, and then I might go down to the bottom row, which I think was one of the better rows, and dig a bucket out of that, and we'll see how long it takes along that row to fill a bucket and what the actual potato size is like. Okay, having dug these 2 buckets, it's time to evaluate. Now, in terms of just the amount of row that it took to fill these 2 buckets, I've got them roughly equal in the amount that's in them. So this bucket here on my right, which came from the clay soil row, the top row, if I pace it out, it was 8 paces to actually get that bucket. The bucket on my left here, the black one, which came from the bottom row where the soil is richer. There's actually been a fire. I burnt up a lot of timber here last winter, so there's ash and charcoal in the soil there. It was about 4.5 paces. So this red one here on my right was almost twice the distance to actually produce the same amount of potato. However, once I began to dig this top row here, I was really quite impressed with the size. These are really, look at that one, a lovely size potato, and you really can't complain. The variety for all of these is Dutch cream, and in terms of Dutch creams, that's a really good size. You probably often only get about that size for Dutch creams. So I'm really happy with the size there. Yes, there's a few small ones, but generally really good. But it's the productivity in terms of each plant that clay soil up there, that really heavier clay, and having less available nutrition, less humus in the soil, has let it down. Here in this bucket, you'll see some really great potatoes. You know, really good big size potatoes. Look at that, and quite a lot there. So these plants were far more productive, and it just shows that little bit of extra. I think having had the fire there with the charcoal and the ash really improved that patch. So whether this is replicated across the entire patch, I'm not sure, but there was at least a couple of rows that grew at this sort of rate, and the plants lasted well. So overall, I'm really quite happy with the result that has come from this soil. This is the first crop that I have put in this soil, and it was done with growing green manure at the same time as the potatoes were put in, and then hilling it in. So if you're interested in how I did that, I've got a couple of earlier videos about developing this section about how these potatoes were going. So I'll put links at the end of this video if you want to go and watch those. Now, how do I manage these muddy potatoes? Because this bottom row, the potatoes are quite muddy, and you really don't want to just put them into storage like that. What I do is I'll spread them out on a tray in the dark, so that's in the cellar for me, where I've got some space in the dark there, and let them dry for a few days. And once they've dried out and air dried, then I can actually put them into a container for storage. Now, if you're wondering what this grass is and these weeds that are growing in here are, this is actually the survivors of the green manure that I planted. And the plants are the seeds that actually survived being hilled into the potatoes. So this is oats that's coming through here, and this particular plant is mustard. As I dig the potatoes, this will largely get dug out. In the spring, when it's a little bit drier and I've got the crop out, I'll come through, rotary hoe this patch and prepare it for another crop. I'm not sure at this stage what that crop is going to be. So if you do have any suggestions as to what I should plant in here as the second crop, put it in the comments below. That's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.